Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our annual meeting of the Governance Committee for Environmental Facilities Corporation, May 11th at 11 a.m. We have a very robust agenda today, so shall we start with roll call?
Certainly. Chair DeMarkey.
Here, in person.
Director Corcoran.
Here.
Director Krasansky.
Here.
And Director Zarofsky.
I'm here.
We have the entire committee.
Great. And we have a lot of others here as well, which I'm very happy to see. Our first order of business today is to take care of last year's business and approve our minutes from last year. Could I have a motion for approval of our minutes?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
Awesome. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And our minutes are behind us. All right, moving forward to this year, we have a great agenda with all of our policies in here. I hope everyone's had a chance to look through them. And we're going to start with our annual review of our bylaws. So there are no changes, but it does require a review. So I'm just going to mention a few things if you would follow along on your, on your reels that you have. You can see that it defines the corporation, Title 12 of Article 5. Article 2, particularly for the Board of Directors, it talks about what it's made up of, what our oversight is, ethical management of the corporation, review and monitor implementation of fundamental financial and management controls and operational decisions of the corporation. So it does define our roles. Just to continue our review, Article 2 refers to the duties of our employees, consultants, and officers, and also the indemnification. So be sure to take a look through that. Article 4, our meetings and our requirements, which we are at one of right now. And Article 5 is our committees, which we are here today with. And then finally, the corporate finances. Always good to take a look at them and review them. I should have done that during discussion, but could I have a motion to recommend the readoption of the bylaws as written by the full board?
So moved.
And a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion than my introduction? All right, hearing no comment, all in favor? Aye. Any abstentions? Any nays? All right, we will adopt our bylaws again this year. Next, we are moving on to our governance committee charter. I think I'll do the move us into discussion first. Can I have there are no changes again this year in our governance committee charter. We do need to review it. So I just want to, first of all, before we go into discussion, can I have a motion to recommend the approval by the full board of, to the full board, our governance charter? Motion from my two fellows there as Charlie's grabbing coffee.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, so moving into discussion. I just do want to read, because it requires a review, just the opening statement that the governance committee is appointed by the board to assist the board in 1, developing policies to be established by the board to promote honest and ethical conduct by the corporation directors, senior management officers, and employees, and 2, enhancing public confidence in the corporation. And so I gave that a little thought, and I just want to read you my thoughts. There are a number of additive policies throughout our meeting today that have a focus on ensuring ethical conduct of the board, officers, and all of our employees. And we'll be reviewing some of those in the meeting. But with regard to enhancing public confidence, the success of the projects that we have, and the improved water quality that we're seeing throughout our state, green infrastructure and social justice considerations, I think speak to public confidence. But also as chair of the governance committee, I have the opportunity to talk with the officers and senior management and discuss general operations and policies. And some of this good work is not required to be included in the annual governance committee agenda. And in many ways, it really is the day-to-day operations and focus on well-being and education of our people internally that will reflect on the well-being of the corporation overall and implementing our mission. So just a few quick examples. Maureen, you told me about rolling out the knowledge bank to employees. That includes training modules one can take on their own or be assigned for job improvement and learning skills. Henrik, you shared that there is transparency among the department roles now and cross-divisional learning through, I love Lunch and Learns. I think that's great. And the concept of idea sharing and promoting responsibility and stewardship for one's role and the corporation's role, and encouraging a lot of question asking between all of the departments. I think it is these types of internal operations and behavior that engage people and keep them motivated and truly display corporate social governance and responsibility in action. And learning the life cycle of financing a project, I think, is brilliant. It gets people to know and understand the various roles that everyone plays and how they fit into a successful operating corporation. So I was really glad that you shared all that with me. And one last mention, the culture survey, right? I'm very impressed with that. It was sent to employees with the results that are being used to improve and cultivate culture through awareness and commitment to people's well-being and knowledge and learning. And there is a wellness committee. Groups of employees are now encouraged to attend more volunteerism together. That also builds culture. And all of this produces cultural awareness. So these day-to-day operations, engagement, and behavior help build an ethical culture that we have. So on behalf of the board, I just want to thank you for sharing all of those additional items with me and helping me to really say that these two definitions of what the governance committee has to do, enhancing public confidence in the corporation and ethical conduct, I think you're building into your culture. So I did definitely want to take the opportunity to acknowledge all that. I hope everyone's had a chance on the committee to reread the committee charter. It has a lot of good information. Any further discussion, comments? All right, hearing none, can I have a motion to approve by the full board, to recommend approval by the full board for our governance charter?
I'll make a motion to recommend that.
And a second? And a second?
Oh, I'm on mute. Second.
All right. Any abstentions? Any nays? Hearing none, we will make that recommendation. Thank you. All right. So, excuse my mouth. I haven't talked this much all day. Next, we move to review our various documents. And the first one is the procurement of goods and services. There are no changes to this document, and it will be included in ID number 1 on the full board meeting. Could I call for a motion to recommend the approval of the procurement contract guidelines, which will be presented for approval by the full board on ID number 1 on our full board meeting today?
If you did, just to confirm, I think you said these are the same as last. There's no changes from last year, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So move.
Second then.
Okay, so my question and discussion is, since there are no changes, and I know that we did update this language not too long ago, right? When we were doing our cleanups and things that you do every year to help our documents. But are there any material issues associated with implementing this policy?
No, there's not. It follows all applicable statutes. You know, as things get more expensive in the world, you know, the threshold, we at some point we'll want to look at the threshold of the dollar amounts, because right now I believe it's $50,000. And then when you aggregate a contract over a number of years, you know, we want to take a look at if we should increase that threshold, because you'd then be reviewing something every 6 months,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Do we
Things
set
like
that
that.
threshold or is that in law somewhere?
I think it's a combination, Henrik, with,
It's in law. Yeah,
it's in
the
law,
public
and I
affairs.
think we do have
Yeah.
a little
Discretion on that?
discretion within our internal procedures on that.
We should look at that and take that on for next year.
Yeah, definitely.
Take a look at that as you go through the year and find out how many circumstances go above that. When does it not apply, and see if we need to make a modification.
Yeah, it seems to happen mostly with IT software, you know.
Of course, yes.
I'll just mention, I'm not gonna I don't want to discuss this unless somebody wants to discuss it, but there were more sole source or single source, I forget what the term, on the list than I thought there would be. And they were mostly in the category, I think, of, credit, those kinds of areas. And again, I just thought I'd mention it, maybe, just interested in somebody's take on it, at some point, but I'm not, again, not a big issue. I just thought that was interesting.
We can take a look at those.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
interested
it's,
in just what you.
it hasn't
what you think.
changed, it hasn't changed in the number of years.
Right.
Still, if anything, there's got even less,
Okay,
for instance, some of the stuff that we use, S&P has been buying more and more of the services.
right, so they're the only one.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
But then, couldn't you just do a competitive bid? Nobody else would qualify.
Nobody's there, right.
But instead you do.
There's no other
sole
service
source.
for it, so.
So you just decide right up front,
Yep.
just go get it.
Yep.
Good, thank you.
I mean, an RFP and a competitive bid could be time extensive.
Right.
Exactly.
Right, that's the trade-off.
And it's a lot of work internally.
And you know what the answer is.
And we know
If
what
you
the
will.
answer is.
Right.
Yes. Yep.
That's interesting. So it's not only inflation too, it does go to the new and developing integration of IT into it used to be something that was on the side, like, oh, and then there was IT, but IT is placed at the table and it's an integral part.
Yeah.
And the price tag and the things everything in IT just seems to be on a different scale.
I think if anything, you're gonna see, at some point, you could see even more of them instead of less.
Right.
The competition isn't coming in.
Right.
It's the other folks buying out the competition.
And the specialized
Unfortunately.
services we're
Yes.
looking for.
Exactly.
The muni market is very small.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. S&P has bought 2 other firms to do certain things that we're finding out just recently.
Right, interesting.
Well, we have to stay, we have to be aware of these things and stay nimble and stay on top of them. So thank you for that recommendation, Maureen. We'll look into that over the year, keep track on that. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? Hearing none. We will make that recommendation. The motion passes. All righty. We're moving into the body of all of our documents and the procurement of goods. So the next one is fundamental policies and procedures. Wait, is that one then?
That is correct.
Yeah.
And the first one up is our code of conduct.
Yeah. So the first one up on that is our code of conduct. And the committee charter requires that we review this annually. So let's just take a quick look at it. Ethical standards apply to board members, officers, and employees. So it is all encompassing. Just quickly going down it, just to highlight, number 1, independent judgment. Number 2, disclosure of confidential information. 3, information to further personal interests, secure unwarranted privileges. I'm just highlighting what each of these are. We've been through the training, talking about not having improperly being influenced. Number 7, assist or make any other financial investments. Number 8 talks about raising suspicion through your behaviors. C is ethical standards in outside activities. That's very extensive. D is ethical standards regarding conflicts of interest. And then I just want to say E is executive orders, which number 2 is on our ethical training. So a lot of what's in this code that is in our code of ethical conduct is covered in our training. And so we can repeat that here. It's all spelled out. So do make sure that you take a look at that annually during this meeting. And we have the training for that as well. Next in our list, we are going to look at the should I do that one next?
We have in the fundamental policies, 2 recommended removals.
Yeah.
And 2 recommended changes. So
Okay, so I'm going to go to now in our long list of documents, that there are some documents that we are not going to be reviewing because no changes have been made to them. But there are 2 documents that we are removing: the Equal Employment Opportunity Policy and the Sexual Harassment in the Workplace Policy are both recommended for removal because they are superseded by the State Uniform EEO Handbook and Policy. And Maureen, you were going to give us a little intro on that.
I just wanted to explain that that's why we would remove the sexual harassment individual policy and the EEO policy, because last year the state came out with a uniform policy that includes both of those. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that we weren't intentionally removing a policy.
Right.
we won't fail to oversee
So,
those.
no, but if you look at your fundamental policies and procedures in there, you will see that included on the mandated statewide uniform policies, that now they're out from the top, but it is in this policy handbook for employees here. So
And the
it's still
training's
incorporated.
The training's been modified to reflect that, right? The training is around the uniform now that everybody gets, so that everybody's not just covered by it, but also familiar with it.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. The next policy that we're going to review that has an amendment is outside activities. And Kate, you're going to talk about that?
So this isn't really anything substantive that's different. As I believe everyone's aware, there's a new ethics commission that oversees the ethical requirements for state employees and officers. And the policy is just being updated to reflect that entity's name, the contact information, and revised forms for reporting. There's nothing substantively that's different. It's just, again, including the correct references for the oversight agency.
Okay, thank you for that. And we have one more proposed amendment, and this is to the whistleblower protection policy. Henrik.
Good morning, board members. We are proposing to refresh the whistleblower policy to sort of bring it up to date. It was in memo form, and many of the titles were sort of off. Things have sort of changed internally. Insofar as we issue tax-exempt municipal bonds, I felt pretty strongly that we should have provisions in there where you wouldn't just have whistleblower protections in the state sort of system, but also for the Securities and Exchange Commission and the IRS, because they also have whistleblower provisions. So that's what we'd like to propose, is to amend the whistleblower protection policy to include those avenues for folks who feel like something has gone awry, which it won't, because we have policies and procedures.
It's always good to have that backstop.
Yep.
And for people, I think the whistleblower policy also is just a mindset of knowing that they're empowered for the protection overall.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you for that. We are not reviewing some of the other policies because they have not changed. We're not reviewing them in this meeting, but I do hope that our board, our committee has obviously reviewed them. They're always worth a good look. And also Maureen, I'm sure our employees and everyone, see these policies as they need to throughout the
Yearly,
year.
they
Yearly.
take yearly training.
Yeah.
So
That's
sign off
great.
on these policies in their onboarding.
Right, because they're for everyone.
Yes.
All right, so with that, I would like to call for a motion to recommend the board remove the equal opportunity policy and sexual harassment in the workplace policy from the corporation's fundamental policies and approve the proposed amendments to the outside activities and the whistleblower protection policies.
Let me ask, where's the whistleblower? Oh, where is that in here? The new words.
Would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blue tabs over.
Out in here. Oh, I think it's in here. Yeah, oh, got it. Keep going.
I should have tabbed it better.
Sorry.
I had already reviewed it, so.
I don't think I did that one.
Just a
Where's there?
word.
Maureen McGrath.
Great.
So SEC,
Got it.
IRS, and then the other stuff is just, names,
Mhm.
council, director of admin.
Good. Okay, great. Thank you. Good.
Good?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Could I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Great set of policies. Thanks for all your work on them. Hearing no further discussion. All in favor? Aye. Abstentions? I can see none. We're good to go. We make that recommendation. Thank you. All right. If you're following along, you got to flip way far over. I don't know what page number, but it's way
The PDF is bookmarked if you want.
Yeah.
If you want to hop in.
to the qualifications of board members. There are no changes to our qualifications, although I think we all learn everything each year. So hopefully we're better qualified each year that we're on the board. Just take a look at that. A lot of those 8 experience and expertise that are laid out there. I think by attending all the committee meetings and all of the meetings, you really get to be a well-rounded person on all of those areas, even though individual board members might have a real special focus on some of them. But as a whole, I think we meet those qualifications. So there's no further action on there. There's no motion with this, but is there any comment on our qualifications? All right, hearing none. Next, we are going to look at our board performance evaluation. So in accordance with ABO policy guidance 1005 from October 26, 2010, ABO consulted with the Committee on Open Government, which advises that a board discussion of its performance would constitute a matter made confidential by state law that therefore could be conducted in private. So therefore, I would like to call for a motion to enter into executive session to discuss the board performance evaluation. Can I have a motion for executive session, please?
Oh, I'll second.
Everyone's for it. And a second has been heard. Okay, so we will. Okay, we are returning from executive session. I'd like to call for a motion to resume the regular.
I'll make a motion to resume the regular meeting.
Thank you, Charlie. And a second.
So moved.
All right, we're all in favor? Aye. We've resumed regular session. We took no formal action, including but not limited to the appropriation of public monies during our executive session. All right, carrying on with our agenda. Our next document is the defense and indemnification of state officers and employees. And there are no updates to that policy. Please do take a look at it. It is provided in your documents. And with that, I have another motion to call for. This committee meeting is full of motions. I'm calling for a motion to recommend the approval by the full board of the policies and other required documents developed in connection with the governance committee's authority and responsibilities, including the updates to the whistleblower policy, protection policy, and outside activities policy. And 2, removal of the equal opportunity policy and sexual harassment in the workplace policy from the corporation's fundamental policies. This is to make the recommendation to the full board.
I'll
Thank
make a
you,
motion.
Charlie. And a
Second.
second?
Adam.
Thank you, Adam. All in favor? Aye. We're all in favor. And the motion passes. Okay, we are just about wrapping up. And we are now on our annual review of the corporation's mission statement and performance measurements. All right, I am still going to do my favorite thing, which is to read the mission statement out loud. And I am perfectly happy if everyone would read it with me. Okay? All right. The mission of the Environmental Facilities Corporation is to assist communities throughout New York State to undertake critical water infrastructure projects by providing access to low capital grants and expert technical assistance. A primary goal is to ensure that these projects remain affordable while safeguarding essential water resources. We support this mission by consistently using an innovative approach to developing and advancing new financial strategies to maximize the funding that can be made available to our clients, aiding compliance with federal and state requirements, and promoting green infrastructure practices. That's a lot. And we do it very well.
Liberty and justice for all.
I'm sorry, but I love to read it out loud because I think we truly do live up to our mission statement, and it's important that we all read it at least annually because you live it every single day. And so thank you all for living that mission statement and doing the good work. I would like to call for a motion to recommend readoption of the mission statement and performance goal listed with the mission statement by the full board. Motion? One more. We're almost done with motions. Promise.
Welcome to Dialpad meeting.
So moved.
Oh, did I not review the performance measurements report? I was supposed to do that one in there.
That's after, it's all fine. The only
Oh, here it is,
action
yeah.
item needed is for approval of the mission statement and performance measurements, and then we'll look at the report. So we have a first by Francis and a second by Adam.
Okay. Any discussion? Good mission, right? Yeah. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Seeing no abstentions, any nays? Okay, our motion will pass. And then finally, we are looking at just a review of our performance measurements report, which is at the end of your documents. And just want to take a minute to look at some of these things. I love this report. I say that every year. I know we're running out of time, but I've gone through it and had some comments. I'll keep it to myself, but at the moment, because I have gone through it. But it gives you an update on our new programs, our engagement with communities, our engineering planning grants. Talks about our expertise, considerations of financing and the cost to our ratepayers, the bipartisan infrastructure law, new and significant new federal funding. We talked about that. Number 4, regarding climate change and our Green Innovative Grants Program, our new Jobs Environmental Bonds Act for training. I mean, this document right here tells you so much. And it also now has a section on IT and security measures, as we were saying, how important that aspect of every company is now. And it's good to see that with a significant spot in this document. So this is a great document. I actually read it twice because it's a great summary. So thank you for putting that together. And then were we going to take a minute to were we talking about this?
I believe Maureen was gonna, bring us through that, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
I didn't know because I had it with that. All right, great. I could spend a whole bunch of time on that one document. I would love to just chat about it. All right, but we are concluded with this year's governance committee meeting. There'll be no further business, so I'd like to call for a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So moved. And well done, Vita.
It's a fun meeting.
I'll second it. Well done.
So much fun.
Any further discussion? I will just say, once again, I want to thank the entire corporation and those that are watching and not just in the room for all of your work and your dedication to the mission. It really means a lot, and it shows through the success of our projects that we get to see.
Thank you,
All in
Vita.
favor
Aye.
of adjournment? Me. Aye. Abstentions? Days? We conclude our annual meeting.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.